Today, we are talking about the great Dana Carvey.
Shares your temperament and values. Someone like, oh, I don't know. Could it be Satan?
We didn't know who John McLaughlin was.
Wrong! I'm perfectly sane. Everyone else, however, is insane and trying to steal my magic bag.
The church lady is the next one.
I have sinned against you.
Wow, what a news flash.
Massive head wound Harry.
3 weeks later.
And he can't stop, like...
He's trying to hold the prosthetic on and push the dog off at the same time. A lot of guys are like married with kids before we come out. I mean, before they come out.
Check out the ass on page 47. You just want to eat it right off the page.
Promote our YouTube.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Cue music.
Didn't I just tell you where the picture came from? Huh? Have you seen the picture? Did I just start talking Portuguese up here and not know it?
Welcome to Be Kind, Let's Rewind, the nostalgia podcast no one asked for, with your hosts, Chris, Leaf, and Chadwick.
Promote our YouTube. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Be Kind, Let's Rewind, the nostalgia podcast that no one asked for. Today, we're talking about the great Dana Carvey.
Well, isn't that special?
Yeah, we decided, you know what, man? Let's do a tribute episode before someone dies. So,
Dude, I think I heard that he's like 70 or about to be 70.
yeah, man. Like, he looks good, man. They got their, him and David Spade got their podcast, Fly on the Wall. Shout out, for the love of God, sponsor our podcast. For the love of God.
We're going to absolutely bombard you with clips from this.
It's never going to stop, man.
Prepare
So
yourself.
be sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, help us grow this community, buy some T-shirts, and hit that alert button so when we go live on the live rewind, you can catch us, because who knows when we'll do it. It's like a secret concert. We don't even know. So,
And it's much like Smokey the Bear. You can prevent Chris from just like and subscribe.
just like and subscribe. That's all you got to do, man. So let's talk about Dana Carvey, guys, because first and foremost, this dude is one of my favorites of all freaking time. One of the guys that like inspired me to even try impressions out of the gate. But when was the first time you remember seeing Dana Carvey? And I'll start first, and it was SNL, and it was mine and Leaf's mom's favorite character, the church lady.
Well, isn't that special?
Was one out of the freaking gate, and that's when Dana Carvey was first on my radar. How about you, Leaf?
Man, it had to have been the same, dude. Like, he was a fixture in our household in Saturday Night Live, one of the most quotable performers ever on Saturday Night Live. If you haven't seen any of his material, I'm sure he has a best of. I know we watched a documentary about
and
the
there's
Carvey
a
show,
best of, and I'll get into it. Like,
there's so many characters. You could pick a million different ones. The church lady, growing up in Christian conservative household, my mom and Chris's mom were the church lady.
They were.
Like, growing up.
They would just say that to each other all the time. They'd be like, something would happen in the neighborhood, and then my mom would look at your mom and go, well, that's special.
Isn't that special?
Yeah, church lady definitely for me was a big one. But I've got to say, I think I actually remember his impression of Ross Perot more than Ross Perot.
Is this the way we're going to play the game here? Are you guys going to keep asking these asinine questions till you see some dirty pictures? Is that what you want?
Dude, 100%, man.
Yes, dude.
And actually,
can I finish?
Yeah, can I
finish?
Yeah.
Can I finish one time? Can I finish? Can I finish?
I think it's one of those where I think he helped Ross Perot in that election. Like, 'cause Ross Perot put up record numbers for a third party, all because he couldn't. Is that what we're doing? Is that what we're doing here?
Hey, some people believe that, like, yeah, that Ross
Are you listening to me?
Yeah.
Some people will argue that election like caused a lot of the other two main parties to start blackball and keep other people,
keep
other
the
the third party
parties,
from
yeah.
coming in. And I agree with Chris. I think Dana Carvey had a lot to do with that, putting him in the forefront.
That Ross Perot skit led the Republican and Democratic Party over to. All of you get out of the street, man.
Yeah, get out of the street.
Is that what we're doing? Are we doing? We're doing alcohol jokes now.
Nobody remembers Ross Perot.
He's probably been dead for like 15 fucking years.
He died, I think, in like 2000.
Dude, today I had to rush in here to get, so I've got myself a nice little vodka shot in this that I'm just gonna shoot. Hey, little Braves baseball, little shot glass, but
dude, I thought that was like a bong.
Dude,
like...
kettle one, bottoms up, boys. Leaf, what do you got?
It kind of looks like a uncircumcised.
That's good. And so I've got the Chattanooga whiskey, dude.
Sponsor our podcast.
Sponsor our podcast, guys. We're rooting for the home team here in my household, dude. Tomorrow's date night. Gonna do a few whiskey cocktails,
little tootski,
little tootski, man. We're gonna have maybe a little whiskey sour, maybe an old fashioned with the classic Chattanooga, Tennessee whiskey. So drinking it with just ice right now.
Oh, dude, it's just got a good flavor on it. We need to go. We'll be talking to those guys soon. Hopefully, we can get one of them on the podcast to tell you about us, their product, and everything. Shadwick, bring us home.
Well, you know what? It should be no surprise to anyone for the next several weeks. It's going to be
the summer shandy.
The summer shandy. It's hot. It's hot outside, and I've got plenty of it.
Dude, well,
I'm drinking it out of a nice frosty Braves.
Dude, and see, I was doing a Brave shot with the vodka. So, guys, also
I need to give them some support because I've not watched a second of baseball this year.
I've watched about 3 seconds, but shout out to our Rewinder of the Month, Travis. Again, from the John Finkel camp. So shout out Travis and John. Thanks for supporting the podcast. Travis has been going to bat for us on the old X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. So he's been trying to get the word out, man. We really appreciate it.
Really appreciate it.
And before we get over to the topic, I actually had this lined up for another episode, but we're kind of pinched for time. So there's zero segue leading into shit stuck in my head this week.
Hey, everyone. I made brownies.
I better hurry up. I'm going to miss the show.
What did I do? What did I do?
I love Brownie Day.
So, no context, no segue. Here we are, man. So let's get over into our topic, guys.
Gerald Ford shot dead today at the senseless age of 83.
Dana Carvey, man. So, Leaf, go ahead and kick us off with some boring-ass facts for Mr. Dana Carvey.
Dude, man, let's start at the beginning for the uninitiated Dana Thomas Carvey. Ladies and gentlemen, born June the 2nd, 1955, is an American stand-up comedian, actor, podcaster, screenwriter, and producer. The man
does it all.
Has done it, and is doing it all. Carvey is best known for his 7 seasons on Saturday Night Live from 1986 to 1993, which earned him five consecutive Primetime Emmy Award nominations. Dude.
You know, for some reason I thought he was a little bit later than that. 86. I was not watching SNL.
No, because he came on. The 85 was the season that it was like they hired Anthony Michael Hall, fucking Iron Man, all that shit. So the next season was when Phil Hartman, Dana Carvey, our girl Jan Hooks, who I'm developing a big crush on the more I do research on her. She was so fucking good. But all those people kind of came in at the same time. So in 86, and then that cast started to rebuild what had been torn down by the previous cast.
Yeah, it's sort of, it's like Chris is right. It's sort of like revitalized like SNL to be like sort of like the must-see TV, like
right.
again.
It rejuvenated it.
You hear that? Rejuvenated. He was juvenated before, lost it, and got juvenated again. Rejuvenated.
No.
And Carvey's also
it was torrid at one time.
All right, that's enough.
And Carvey is known, obviously, for a lot of his impressions, which we'll talk about momentarily. A lot of the skits. He's also had numerous film roles in comedies such as Moving from 1988, Opportunity Knocks, 1999, Trapped in Paradise, 1994. I don't think I've seen that one. And, of course, the one that always pisses me off the most, because when I hear people mention Dana Carvey, people are talking about The Master of Disguise, the 2002 failure.
You know what? We had it at the movie theater when we worked there. That's why it pisses you off, is because we knew Dana Carvey, and then that came out.
It's like, it's just a movie, guys. Like, it wasn't great. Obviously, it was a bomb. Yes, he's not turtley for the Turtle Club.
Christ.
Shut up. That skit's stupid. It's not funny. The clip isn't funny. Stop reminding me that it exists. The man has an absolute legendary career, and among others, as the role of Garth Algar in the SNL spinoff Wayne's World.
This is the year you finally got pubes.
Yeah, well, my body's kind of slow, but I got a lot of them now.
All right, good.
Yeah, exactly, which was genre defying. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Wayne's World was culturally defining in that era.
Did either of you even know that Bohemian Rhapsody existed before that movie?
No, absolutely not.
I'm not gonna lie to you, dude.
I think that movie introduced that song to a whole generation.
It introduced Queen to a whole generation. We
did.
might have known them a little bit through, if you did your research, I guess. But yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody, never heard anything like it before. Turns out it was fucking 20 years old, or 15 years old by the time we heard it. But man, dude, Wayne's World again. This is, and I got some stats on that when we go through it, man. But
yeah, man,
dude, that's just wild. You want to go ahead and hit his early life, man?
Yeah, real quickly before we get into the meat and potatoes here, like Dana Carvey was born in Missoula, Montana, the fourth of 5 children.
Meat and potatoes, is that what we're doing?
Is that what's going on here?
One of his brothers, in particular, was Brad Carvey, an engineer, designer, and inventor of the first video toaster. Did you do any research on that? I did.
No.
Video toaster.
Video toaster. It was. Oh my god, dude! There's actually it is a YouTube video I need to send to Chris, and
I'll be damned.
It is, dude. It is an editing software designed to bring production quality in like the early 1990s to like a home studio stuff that Chris does on his phone with an app now.
Yeah, that's
like
crazy.
Dana Carvey's brother was an enginer. He invented the first version of
like in the
that
90s,
digital
right?
software.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dana said that he was inspired for Garth by his brother.
Yeah,
because he was always inventing like little gadgets and shit in their garage.
And he was like soft spoken, I think, too. It was like
which is why I was going to mention, which is why I brought him up, because he was the inspiration for Garth in Wayne's World. And if you notice, like, that's why Garth has the black glasses. Like, he's still a rocker, but he's just really timid, and like he's just a very unique kind of character. So evidently that's where Dana Carvey based that particular character on.
That bass player's a babe. She makes me feel kind of funny. Like when we used to climb the rope in gym class.
Dana Carvey finally, of course, he grew up in California, earned his bachelor's degree in broadcast communications from San Francisco State University in 1997.
That's where Johnny went. Go Gators.
Dude, go Gators, dude. 1997, he won the San Francisco stand-up comedy competition.
Okay,
1977, so it began.
So maybe he was a 49ers fan.
Mm-hmm.
We were thinking, we saw an interview with him while we were doing research where he was wearing
a
Niners t-shirt.
Gotta be, dude.
Letterman, maybe.
Yeah.
Grew up there. Later on in life, he did return back to I think to be more of a family man, to be with his kids. And so, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. Like, I'm sure he'll confirm that when he comes on the podcast.
Yeah, and monkeys might fly out of my butt.
This is all working towards him getting his big break on SNL, right? So he had some minor roles in some things earlier on. But what I had here in my notes is he actually had 2 auditions for Saturday Night Live. And if this isn't the most Lorne Michael things I've ever heard in my fucking life, his first audition, I forgot who the producer was that was like, hey, you got to see this guy. I think like he'd be a good fit for the show. Lorne sits down. Dana's about to go on. And then I've got to go to the bathroom. I'll be back. And then when he comes back, Dana's set's over. And so he missed the entire fucking set to go either take a shit or probably talk or do what. Like I think Lorne Michaels, who I will continue to call Lorne Michaels the Vince McMahon of comedy, I think he would play mind games with people like that. So anyway, they ended up going back, And they saw him again at another gig, I think, later on. And then, you know,
Really?
of course, he was like, okay, yeah, let's get this guy on here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can see his SNL audition. It's the Chop and Broccoli song, I'm pretty sure, right?
And so he did with when he first started doing stand-up comedy, and he was like, I think I can do this. He's like writing shit down on a napkin, you know, and these jokes, and he's about to do this open mic night. And this guy gets on stage, and then he thinks to himself, I don't think I can do this, because that was fucking incredible. That man was Robin Williams.
Yeah.
So
fucking Mork from Ork.
Oh, Father, right now there's 2 guys in Memphis going to the bathroom. I should have worn a prophylactic.
yeah, dude, that shit, bar set a little high out of the gate for you to be like, because Robin Williams, if you guys didn't know, loves stand-up comedy, and like that was always what he went back to in between movies. He would always do stand-up. He just loved performing in front of people.
Well, also he loved like watching stand-up. So
Yes.
he would go like incognito, hat and glasses, go sit in the back of a room, and then I'm trying to remember what comedian it was. It may have been Dan Soder. Was talking about how he like came up to him like after his set, and he didn't even know he was there or anything. And then realized at first that it was Robin Williams, like complimenting him.
Yeah. Dude, that's got to be wild, man. But, I mean, so Robin Williams probably doesn't get his flowers on stand-up like he should, but one of the best of all time to do it. Just the different angles he would hit, like, is wild.
Different angles of an 8-ball. Man, he was like fucking wide open.
Dude, this is why we got to stop treating ADDs, and we're not gonna have fucking comedians anymore.
Yeah,
like,
let it happen.
Let it happen, man.
Nature take its course.
Whoa, over here.
I bet Dana saw him. He's like, damn, I thought I was like high strung.
Yeah, I know. That's no shit.
I thought I had a high energy act.
Yeah, nope, not at all, man. So he does get the gig, and so like we talked about earlier, he joins up after the 85 season. This has been the 86 season, and they said in the SNL book, he's talking about like his first gig, like so it's first night, first season. Lorne Michaels doesn't like the church lady, doesn't think that it's really that funny. They do it in dress. Because they'll do a lot of skits in dress, you know, to see, and it fucking kills. So, and he had later on that night, he already had the Chop and Broccoli thing like in the show, and then when they go look at the lineup, that's their fucking open is Church Lady, like the cold open. So like it went from not being on the show to him doing an open, and he said that he went in the back and like was so fucking nervous he started crying because he's like, I've got to open the fucking show, then go do like Chop and Broccoli or whatever. But man,
so he didn't have to put in time as a writer. He just
he just jumped on and
straight
went
on screen.
Yeah,
well,
because he tested pretty well, I guess, on screen. But man, dude, that shit was gold out, you know, out of the gate. Church Lady, you know, which we'll talk about some of these skits that he did. But
let's not forget though, to join Saturday Night Live, he had to give up his hosting role on the Nickelodeon television show Double Dare. So big mistake on Dana Carvey, huge fumble there.
Could have been
joining Saturday Night Live. Instead, it went to our boy Mark Summers. It could have been Dana Carvey. I had to throw that in there before we went any further.
Man, Dana Carvey could have had a career.
Dude, could have had it all,
career
dude.
Being covered in slime. Also, I forgot to mention too, Kevin Nealon also came on with that crew, and I found out Kevin Nealon, Jan Hooks dated for a little bit.
No,
I just love this girl even more and more. Side note, another Jan Hooks story that was in that book is it was about Phil Hartman, and they were doing some skit where she's making out with Phil in the back seat of a car, and like I forgot what the premise is, but then Phil's like, they get done, and he's got to go run and do a costume change. He's like, Jan, you gave me a boner. And so he has to go run and change clothes, and he just has this fucking rager on. Changing clothes.
I mean, I can't fault him for it.
No, man, dude. Yeah. Again.
Go watch our Phil Hartman episode.
For the love of God.
It's one of the only ones just to talk about his tragic demise, and it honors him for who he is, dude.
So man. Fucking good, man.
It's also one of the only ones that we've done that YouTube hasn't buried for some reason.
Turns out they're not our biggest fan, man. So I went through the best of SNL and kind of wrote down some skits here. So when he's on SNL, if you guys haven't, you can find it on Peacock. The Dana Carvey best of is on there.
It's like season 40, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it really is. I think it's really like season 27 or season 20, episode 27. Anyway, go find it. You can Google it, and it'll tell you where to go. But Shadwick's favorite is what led off that best of.
Now, hold on there. Hold on. One Texas minute. Now, hold on. Thank you, Sharon. Now,
and it's the Ross Perot skit. And for some reason in it, like, and what he would do is he would just make like the people crazy. Like that's what was funny about his impression. But he would find one thing, and he would exaggerate that to perfection.
Yeah, he called it the hook.
Yep,
and that's what I want to talk about. Like, yeah, he's a great impressionist, and there's some that like he really nails. Like Paul McCartney.
Yeah,
like
yes,
like he can go like all day.
Yeah,
and that one's
knocky doggy dooey donkey do.
It's near perfect, but most of them they're good, but it's not like he's really sounding like the person. It's just like you said, he's finding that one thing. It's like a rhythm or an upscale or something.
When he first started doing George Bush, his George Bush was pretty fucking spot on.
1,000 points of light. Well, unfortunately, I see my time is up.
George was senior, right?
Correct. But it wasn't funny. And then he even says it, I think, in that documentary that we'll talk about later, the Too Funny to Fail. But he got bored, and then he would just find something to exaggerate, like wouldn't be prudent, like like whatever, and he would just latch on to that, and then he would make it animated. He would turn him into a cartoon.
He push it, to the umpteenth degree, which people made this. And I agree with Shadwick. Like, it's not that like Dana Carvey's impressions were necessarily like a spot on mimicry,
right?
In like voice wise, but it was the fact that he encapsulated somebody's tone and made it a comedic joke, like you said, almost animated, cartoonish, to where you just are dying laughing in your seat watching him do it.
Right.
Like,
but that stuff stood out so much, like it kind of blurs my memory of
who the people are.
Yeah, did George Bush say that, or did Dana Carvey as George Bush?
George Bush said, actually, one of the ones where George Bush, it's actually George Bush responding to Dana Carvey, and he says like,
"And I'll have my revenge when the time is right. Not now. Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture."
Like use the line back to him or whatever.
Yeah, dude, recognizing that that was one of the hooks.
You mentioned the Paul McCartney thing, and he said that's what started him in impressions. He saw an interview with the Beatles on TV, and then
at like 8 years old.
Yeah, and he just started talking like this all the time. And Paul McCartney, like he just ran with it, and then everybody laughed at it, and then it just kind of started him down that path.
Also, it helps that he has such a crazy range in his voice.
Yes,
it does.
He can't go super low, like his Elvis is not spot on. He gets the subtle things like, the little Southern lisp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or the little draw or whatever. But he can't get the bass. He can just find that rhythm, find a tone, and then like take it way up high too.
Dude, and like again, like, and we'll get to this to part of this a little bit later, but at SNL is where he kind of started teaming up with Robert Smigel, who we know from Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. He wrote with Sandler. He's been in I think he was
Conan O'Brien.
Like he's like a fucking comedic genius, and he's one of those dudes too. I think that this is really rare that it happens. Is there's some guys that like. He was fine as a straight man on camera. I don't mean this as a dig, but he wasn't a great comedian on camera. He's not Dana Carvey, right? But he knows that, and he knows what to write for Dana Carvey, and he knows what he can do. And so those people that understand their fucking role are way underrated.
Yeah, he was basically like a soundboard just for ideas to bounce back
Correct.
off of.
Correct. And he just knew it worked, and it was just so funny. And man.
And Carvey gives him credit. He says, like, even if there were points in his career where that Robert Smigel would write something for him, and he would just go out and read it, and obviously it would slay and kill. And he was like, "It's the greatest job ever: is go out and do somebody else's material." Like, because Robert Smigel understood comedy so well, he knew exactly how to write.
All the comedians, like writers that we like what's there was Smigel, there was Daniels, there was. Odenkirk was there at the same time.
Bob Odenkirk,
Jesus Christ! Like
when did Conan come on to SNL?
It was around this time. Like it was, I think that because they talked about he was there when Carvey and they were there, and I was just like, Jesus Christ! They had Sandler, Spade, Farley, Norm, like.
And Jesus Christ, we got the whole lineup here.
and that actually leads us to
There it is. Now, are you happy? Are you happy? There it is. This is a picture generated by the Republicans' Dirty Tricks team using a computer paid for with PAC money.
he had the fucking picture of, and he's like, they're like, do you want to comment on the picture of your daughter? And he's like, is that what we're doing? Is that what we're going to do today? Okay, if that's what you want to do, we're going to talk about that. And he pulls out this picture that is his face crudely pasted over and making out with Madonna. And it's supposed to be Ross Perot's daughter. And it's this whole, again, it just makes him crazy. It's this whole skit like around the Republican Party trained some dogs to do some shit that they put this picture and it's been, superimposed or whatever. Like,
sir, who is telling you that the Republicans are training dogs to do this?
am I up here speaking Portuguese and don't know it?
I wanted to just say too, this is a perfect time for me to say this. This is the difference between doing political comedy and Dana Carvey's time with Dana Carvey, and now, like, the things he did were completely non-malicious. It was all about absurdism.
Yeah.
It was about just pure comedy. There was nothing malicious. He had no, and in the documentary they mentioned it. There was no axe to grind with a lot of his comedy, even in his later on television show, which we'll talk about. There was just like, it's just pure hilarity. It's all about goofing.
But also we have Jim Downey that was there, and Jim Downey was a Republican, and then you have people across the aisle, like obviously like a guy that was in Congress as a Democrat that was like a higher up at SNL that I keep forgetting his fucking name.
Al Franken.
Yeah, Al Franken was a Democrat. So you had Republicans and Democrats working together. What a fucking concept. And then it was not an axe to grind, right? Like we weren't going after low fucking hanging fruit, except for the OJ jokes, which those are funny just because that's low hanging fruit that's funny.
And it's Norm.
Yeah, it's Norm, so he gets away with it. But that's what I mean. Like, so that was part of, I think, too, why this comedy was so just funny for funny's sake, right?
Yeah.
Because this Ross Perot thing was just fucking hysterical.
It was hysterical, and it was a long line in a lot of his impressions, and none of them were ever, in Dana Carvey's, like, in my opinion, none of them were ever really malicious or mean necessarily.
No.
But it was comedy and silliness for silliness' sake. It's something he takes on, like, throughout his, I'm sure it came into his stand-up comedy career. It's been a long time since I've seen Dana Carvey stand-up, but
right.
I mean,
he is a huge fan.
The other thing now, the other difference between like political comedy back then and now is like the politicians basically write their own shit now. It's like
no joke, dude.
Like,
good point.
Like in 1993, if we read what politicians are posting on social media now, we'd be like, "This is complete satire.
Yeah,
this is ridiculous.
Like
it's too. This is too stupid to be funny."
It's Trey Parker and Matt Stone when they were talking about, they were talking about it, and they were like, "How do you parody a parody?"
Yeah,
and that's what it is, right? So it's like so you're saying whatever the politician said, and then you have a group of people that clap and laugh with you, and you're like, Norm hated that. Norm was like, "We're here to get fucking laughs and or groans." And the clap with, "Yeah, go get them with your comedy," is like, dude, I'm with Norm. Like, fuck that. That's lazy.
Cringy, dude.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's not, you're not making people laugh.
Yeah.
Or challenging, or pushing their. That's why he liked groans. That's why he was just like, because he knew it, because there was people that would be dying laughing, and there's people that were just like agitated by it, which was just as funny
to him. For sure.
To him, like, it made perfect sense.
But I'll tell you who wouldn't stand for that kind of shit.
Yeah, once again, I am Hans.
And I am Franz, and we just want to pop
you up.
Good old Hans and Franz with Kevin Nealon. And hearing Kevin Nealon talk about this was kind of fun because he is super cerebral and zen, right? But he appreciated that this was like, sometimes you want people, they want an easy one-liner. Like, that's what people want. Like, sometimes I want to pump you up is all they want, And Dana even talked about the origins of this, where he first started off, and they're obviously parodying Arnold, and even have pictures of him in the background, like him all flexed up, looking all delicious and pumped up.
I don't know, man.
And again, it's not like a spot on impression. Like he's
off.
Yeah, he's squeaky, like
Well, that's what he said. So in the beginning, it was him just doing a normal voice, and then he started taking that pitch up to make it just absurd or whatever, and then that started that got more laughs, and Dana would be like, I would get bored with the character, and then I want to you see him, he does this when he's talking about it because he just wants to, he's wanting to move around, he's wanting to get
he wants to push the envelope.
And so the Hans and Franz was one that was because back in the day, the SNL was water cooler talk, right? Like Monday you go to work, not for us because we were too young. We were on the playground, combing the playground for some skirt. Not really. I was wanting to play tag with my friends.
Chris is perving on a dish.
I was perving on a dish, aka trying to find out how I could find a different hiding spot this week.
Hey, am I wrong? Didn't Schwarzenegger actually do Hans and Franz?
Come on, Hans and Franz.
Yeah.
Here they are.
How are you?
Hi, how are you? Yeah,
All
good to see you
right.
again. Yeah, okay, guys.
Yeah, I think he came on as a guest spot for one time with that.
And he was good natured about the whole.
Yeah, for sure, because it wasn't
obviously.
it wasn't like a super dig on anybody, but
that's what I was saying, man.
Dude,
it's just all funny comedy, man.
Yeah, dude, it was.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, man.
Cut my hand.
But yeah, but Kevin Nealon, it was funny to hear him talk about that because if you've seen Kevin Nealon in anything or ever heard him talk, again, super sharp dude, but also a real zen dude. And that's why his Kevin Nealon, when he did the news, it kind of worked a little bit because he's just straight, He's not going to go crazy, he'll feed into whatever. But what's funny is when Kevin Nealon breaks too, which Sandler used to get him to break all the time, and that was always good shit. Actually, before we get into the next one, I do want to say this. This era of SNL, I believe, caught more fame post than it did in the heat of it because SNL started releasing those best of DVDs. And that was massive, for us at least, because I remember we wore out this Dana Carvey fucking best of DVD. We knew who he was, and we watched some of it. But, again, like we said in previous episodes, back then, guys, if you missed SNL that night, good fucking luck. It's gone. Yeah. There's no on demand. There's no, you got to hope you recorded it. There's no internet,
or one of your weird rich friends' dads had it set up to tape, which he did. He had a whole collection, before,
stacked on a wall.
Yeah, man, yeah,
tapes.
Yeah. If you missed it, the next morning in Sunday school, you didn't know what everybody else was talking about. You're actually gonna have to listen to the lesson about the Lord.
And that is terrible. And let me tell you the reason is because you were the odd man out in that situation. People were going to be quoting what the church lady said, or what Garth was
at
church.
At church.
Yeah, the Wayne's World thing.
Satan.
Right, and all that was going to be happening, and you weren't going to be able to participate because you didn't see it. So there was an urgency, like Chris said, on watching it back then more than there would be now. You just catch it whenever.
And then when you were lucky, this was too when Walmart was doing that $5 bin shit, and so we would find the best of Adam Sandler, best of David Spade, best of whatever, and you could buy these DVDs. And then now in late '90s, now we have all the skits we missed. And that's, I think, when me and Leaf really fell in love with Dana Carvey hardcore.
Oh, that was it.
And his stand-up.
I don't know. I'm having a weird crossover memory because I feel like I remember all my favorites being there at the same time. Like Dana Carvey, Spade, Mike Myers.
They were.
Kevin Nealon.
A lot of them, yeah.
They did.
Will Ferrell.
Ferrell probably was
later.
But for sure, all those other ones were there at the same time. And there was Carvey was Carvey, Hartman, all those dudes were the old guard when Sandler, Farley, Spade, Norm, all those dudes were coming in. So
I think I remember hearing Spade. He had to just be a writer for a while because they were giving all of the stuff that he would have acted in to Dana.
Yeah, because they had similar builds, to be honest, similar looks.
We already have Dana.
We already have a skinny white guy.
Yeah.
So we've talked about a lot of other Dana Carvey characters. I want to know, curiously, is there any others that stand out? I have a huge list.
Oh yeah, we're gonna go down this list for sure. I've got a massive list too, but we do want to know in the comments who was your favorite character that Dana Carvey played, man? Because I want to follow up and do a couple more episodes on Dana Carvey just because it's so big. But one of the next skits on that DVD was the McLaughlin Group, which is completely lost on us now because this was this fucking It's basically like Pardon the Interruption. It was before Pardon the Interruption. It's like a bunch of people sitting around arguing about topics, and everybody would get like a certain amount of time or whatever. And it wasn't funny at all, except for Dana Carvey taking it to the next level.
Wrong!
And this dude like just being fucking crazy. And I remember we used to do this impression and shit like all the time. But again, it's one of those that's kind of lost in time, because it was something that was popular probably for 6 months to a year, and if you weren't around for that, then it's kind of like the Cher skit at the end of the Chris Farley, best of, where it's Christina Applegate playing Cher, and then the hair care product. It's like, if you didn't grow up seeing those hair care product things, like, it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, you lose the joke. And I mean, even Chris and I, we were on we didn't know who John McLaughlin was. Like, we didn't have really much of a clue. We didn't watch his show.
Wrong!
Evidently, he was an American television personality and political commentator.
I was having a problem like figuring out who you guys were talking about.
Yeah.
I was trying to watch the best of last night, and that skit seemed like it went on forever.
Oh, and it did.
I finally just like,
at the end of it, like, it finally like has some pays off or what, but like some payoffs at the end. But it's when he's talking about like when he's like John Goodman's like,
You're insane, John.
Wrong! I'm perfectly sane. Everyone else, however, is insane and trying to steal my magic bag.
I want to say the reason that I think that this hits for me and Chris harder is because we were at the theater and we were addicted to this skit.
Oh, dude.
And so random kids would become like Chris and I were fresh off of watching this like at our house. We drive to work, we get there, and someone is like, "Hey, Chris, like there's something wrong with the pop." Chris was like, "Wrong!" Like we were using like this speech, like,
probably,
and people
probably did it on the movie recording too, for sure.
And I wonder if that inspired Phil Hartman's. Sinatra.
Sinatra.
Yeah, remember that skit where he's. It's kind of the same setup where he's talking to a group of people.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it was. I'm sure it was. Which actually, like, that was. I was listening to that book again just to get refreshed on this, and it had talked about how Hartman, I guess Sinatra's family was not happy with Hartman's Sinatra, and they thought it was quote unquote mean. I was like, get the fuck out of here,
dude.
Like,
whatever, dude.
We need to go get Sinatra's body count, guys. Like, Jesus.
Right? Can you please relax for a minute? Oh, by the way, a little hint. There was Dana Carvey did have some heart trouble, and evidently, I believe he was quoted, and you'll have to like back me up if this is untrue. Frank Sinatra, he was in the hospital again for some heart surgery and some different things, and evidently Frank Sinatra passed away in the room right across from Dana
wow,
Carvey.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I think it was in '97. He had he went in to have a blockage cleared out.
Yeah.
And the doctor botched it and like cleaned out the
wrong artery.
the wrong artery. So he sued for like $7.5 million.
Jeez.
And
won it and gave all that money to charity.
Good for him, man. Dude,
Yeah,
man.
Good dude, man. Good dude.
Real one, man.
The next one, and Leaf, I know we're gonna touch and cross over. Like, I have these kind of in order off of the best of, man. So
you just lay them out.
The church lady is the next one, which the behind the scenes on this is Jan Hooks. After she saw the church lady, was like going to Lauren, being like, "Do you know who Tammy Faye Baker is? Like, I could do a great Tammy Faye Baker." And then he's like, "I don't know who that is." And she was like, "I think this would kill with the church lady thing." And then the church scandals started hitting. And then, with who was it?
Jimmy Swaggart.
Jimmy Swaggart. And then they had Phil Hartman.
I am a sinner. I have sinned against you.
Wow, what a newsflash.
But then Jan Hooks got to go out there, man, and do her fucking thing as Tammy Faye Baker. And I don't know how they do this. I wish I knew. They cut over. Dana Carvey's doing, well, isn't that special? Or Satan. And then they cut back, and she's drawn down, or somebody's drawn down where the makeup's run or whatever.
She's crying.
Yeah. It's so fucking good, man.
The whole skit, man, is one of the most underrated skits ever. It's so funny, man.
But yeah, man. So shout out Jan Hooks again. Again, I'm starting to develop a crush on a woman that's no longer with us. So,
Yeah.
man, so underrated. I hope to one day do a full episode on her, man. Leaf, I want to talk to you about this one because this screams a Leaf skit if I've ever seen one. If we were writing a sketch comedy show and you were like, what do you want to lead with that Leaf's going to laugh his ass off at? I would go, massive head wound Harry.
I knew it. Look, I've been waiting to get to this one because I had completely forgotten about this skit. Was that a reoccurring character?
I guess, man, but I've only seen the one.
Oh, for fuck's sake. When the dog grabs it.
It's trying to pull it off.
3 weeks later.
And he can't stop. Like,
he's trying to hold the prosthetic on and push the dog off at the same time and not break.
And for those of you that don't know, I'll be putting clips in here, but the whole premise is this dude has a massive head wound. I knew I was going to kill Leaf with this one. He has a massive head wound, and he doesn't have anything to cover it up, and he just keeps getting it on everything at this apartment party that he shows up for.
It's Taserface.
It is Taserface, what he looks like. But it's like Phil Hartman's over by the shrimp, and he's like, oh, hey. And he kind of almost has like a Garth voice that he's doing, and then he reaches down and puts his open wound in the shrimp cocktail.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me help you with that.
Where he's like, I feel a little lightheaded. I'm just going to lay down. It's a completely white couch. He's like smearing blood, and that's when Chadwick talked about the dog comes up or whatever. And people are like horrified, and they're going to leave. And my favorite is like at the end, like he's like, well, thanks for the party. I'll see you later. And he grabs a hat, and they're like,
No, that's not your hat. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's right. You can have it. Thanks.
and he just put it on this like bloody thing. It's so fucking dumb.
I think that's Kevin Nealon.
It is Kevin Nealon.
It's Kevin
Nealon. Just keep it.
Just keep it. That fucking skit. Anytime I watch that skit, I'm like, if there was a fucking skit that Leaf was designed for Leaf, it's that one, man.
The reason I like it, is because, and honestly, I want to say after watching this and then the documentary about the Dana Carvey show, this was Dana Carvey. Like this is the real Dana Carvey. Yeah. It wasn't the church lady. Well, obviously all that stuff was too, but this is like the kind of comedy that like he really wanted to make. Right. And a lot of it was like extreme absurdism, right? The idea is this guy has like a bloody head wound, which even people listening to the podcast are going to be disgusted at the idea. But that's what was funny about it. It's just like you don't want him there because he's so gross,
but
right?
he's such a nice guy.
But he's so kind, and the dichotomy between the two, just the whole thing that's happening there is just it. I don't know, man. It just hits my funny bone like so hard.
It's definitely
it's terrible. It's terrible.
It's also a play on how like people are not self-aware. Like
and how overly kind people will be in a social situation, even when it's really messed up. Like no one asks them to leave or anything.
I mean, it's like somebody with like really bad body odor or something.
Right, and they're just like they're doing
everybody's just like
except it's a gaping head wound.
They want to stay away from everybody wants to stay away from him, but be nice about it.
Right.
Yes, dude. The whole awkward social situation is what makes me cry about.
I remember watching this one, the best of. Like this is one of those. What just happened on the podcast? Leaf like doubling over and can't breathe. That's like what happened when we first watched this for the first time. Just so fucking funny, man. The one of the next ones that I wanted to talk about was his Bob Dylan impression.
Have a seat. Everybody ready down the seat. Have a seat.
And his Dennis Miller impression.
Yeah.
Like
the Dennis Miller's great.
The Dennis Miller is like, other than the face, it's so spot on. And then Dennis Miller's trying not to laugh at like.
I knew in a minute it was either Cato or the Saint Nick dude.
Like, you know, he's doing all that shit. It's so fucking good. And Dennis Miller's like right beside him.
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, it's so fucking funny, man.
Dennis Miller starts to laugh at one point in time, and Dana Carvey's doing the head thing, and he's like turns and looks at him with a wig, and it's all. He's like,
"You okay, Pat?"
But he's just he was just such a good impressionist in this, and that This is like kind of started where he started doing shit on the news, the Weekend Update, which was like where a lot of people could do. When I started doing the research on some SNL, what they would do is certain characters wouldn't work in long form, right? Like you couldn't have like a 5-minute skit of a certain character, right? Like so Cajun Man with Adam Sandler, you can't do that for 5 minutes and have a whole set. It just doesn't fucking work, right? So he would do things like this where he would just come on and be like, okay, I'll do this. So he had one that was the grumpy old man, and that one, it was just him talking about how things were back in my day, and just like the classic old man. But he said, what does he say?
Just a bunch of hairless head kebabs standing around with rabbit skins on our dinks, and that's the way it was, and we liked it.
He would exaggerate because, like old people do, they would exaggerate how things were.
The play on walking uphill 6 miles both ways. It was just a play on that. I mean, and we're basically that already in our 40s, so that's the way it was, and we liked it. Leaf, man, lead me into this Lyle one, the effeminate heterosexual.
We had to save the best for last. For those who don't remember Dana Carvey, this is going to be a good shock for you. He had a couple of characters that are difficult to find online. This one's a little easier. We'll start out with the least offensive one. Lyle, the effeminate heterosexual.
Which they always used to do. I think in that Too Funny to Fail, Stephen Colbert talks about Smigel being like, "Why are you hiding the joke from the audience?" Like with that waiter skit or whatever, that we'll get into. But like with this, the skit's named Lyle, the effeminate heterosexual. So the audience is in on the joke before you start. Like, so
it's immediately like the second you hear him talk, he has a lisp.
Yeah,
his very effeminate, like the way that he acts, and obviously he looks gay. He acts gay, and everyone is shocked by the fact that he isn't. He has a family and a wife, and like that's the entire joke.
Right.
Like it's just him going throughout his day, and people are like him talking about like.
I never get tired of looking at these women.
Check out the ass on page 47. You just want to eat it right off the page.
Well, a lot of guys are like married with kids before we come out. I mean, before they come out.
It's a funny skit, and you're right, dude. It's not on any of the best ofs. It's
can't find it.
It's pretty much buried.
It's like he doth protest too much.
Exactly.
Yes,
that's
dude,
what it is, man.
That is what the skit is. He doth protest too much. But there's one more that you definitely won't be able to find.
I didn't even know this one existed.
I did find a couple of clips from it, and I'll have to send it to you. But it's definitely not on YouTube or any normal platform you would find. And that is.
Just get it out.
Are you talking about Ching Chang?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ching Chang, the Chinese poultry store owner.
Okay. Oh, hey, welcome to Ching Chang's Chicken Pet Shop. You want to browse or you going to buy chicken?
Another one of Leafs that's just the slap you in the face. There's no hidden joke in this. It's just right up front with you. You know what you're getting when you're getting into it.
Just unabashedly racist.
Yeah, just him doing an Asian voice. And God,
Some of the jokes aren't even funny. It's just so bad. I can't help but cry every time watching the skit. Like I was crying because I know it wasn't even a lot of the jokes were funny. It was kind of giggle worthy, but no, looking back now. Knowing how you absolutely can't do anything like this, and
you weren't even supposed to do this back then. I mean, that's when SNL was quote unquote edgy or whatever. Is that what we're doing right now? Using racism for comedy?
Do you guys think, honestly, between us and everybody listening, do you think this is the last time SNL was ever edgy? Like, was the Dana Carvey era? Was that it? Can you think of times later? I know. Shadwick talked about it when Will Ferrell came on. Maybe there was one or the two.
Yeah, there's a couple there, but I think, to be honest, if you really look at SNL as a whole, the first handful of seasons were really the only ones that were edgy, and then after that, it was kind of a machine. It was the purpose of it early on was we're going to put this smart, edgy comedy on TV, and then the original cast left. Ebersol took over. We got Eddie Murphy, which was fantastic, but after that, it was, look, bro, this is making fucking bank, so let's just keep cranking out money. In my opinion.
There was a skit last night. So I was watching the best of, and I fell asleep and woke back up, and they were in a restaurant. I don't know if this was like the pepper guy, maybe,
or is it Bellissimo? Which one?
It was
that one. Because when I woke up, there's just a pair of legs sticking up in the back.
Oh, honey, it's just their custom.
He's got the pepper grinder between his legs, like a
No, this is the Bellissimo one. This is the one where he's like,
Bellissimo.
It's the Italian family that's like so like overly nice, and he's like, let me get you some antipasta, Bellissimo. He's like,
see Allie.
Rob Schneider's walking around with no pants on.
Dude, Adam Sandler comes out with no pants on. Like they had a couple of these, and one that wasn't on the best of was one. So it's Kevin Nealon's the husband, and it's Christy Alley, and he gets fucking furious because they're licking his wife and feeling her up and shit. She's like, no, it's just their culture or whatever. So he's like, we're leaving this restaurant. He storms out, and they're like all like smushed against the window like fucking lost puppies and shit. But then the next one, they're in a vacation. They're away, and they're in a hotel, and it's the same fucking people. And he's like, is that the same people from before? She goes, honey, you're being paranoid. And then they come in for like room service, and Adam Sandler basically has food on his crotch, and he's like,
okay, lamb chops with salad for signore and pasta for Bellissima. Bellissima, eat first.
And he like jams his crotch in front of her face.
And is that like Adam Sandler like, crawls in the bed with her?
Yes,
too,
dude. And so does like Dana Carvey and Rob Schneider. Like that skit is just, again, it's just absurd as fuck. But it's, one of them went out to eat somewhere in an Italian restaurant, saw those people kissing each other on the cheek and shit, and we're like, what if we times 10 this? And Christy Alley, God bless her, was she a fucking trooper in that one? Dana Carvey's like licking her fucking eye in this skit.
Yeah. It's the nastiest, like most physical garbage I've ever seen. It's the bird.
And Kevin Nealon, hey, like just playing it straight like that entire time. One of the Leaf has a list of impressions here after that one, and Ching Chang, the Chinese poultry store owner. George Bush Sr., we lightly touched on it. Dana Carvey got to go to the fucking White House on this one. Got to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom. He actually had a little bit about it in a stand-up. I think that he's like, people are always like, did you do it? And he was just like,
I'm not going to say whether I did it or not, but my son's middle name is Abe.
But he said there was a full circle moment for him because he used to watch Aykroyd do Jimmy Carter, and he would just like tape it and try to get it right. And he would even do stand-up, and he would throw in that Jimmy Carter that would basically be like him doing Dan Aykroyd's Jimmy Carter, right?
Yeah.
And so Dan Aykroyd came on the show and like complimented him on his like George Bush, and he was just like, wow, this is like I used to record you and copy you, and now you're like complimenting my impression or whatever.
Well, same thing. I sent you guys. I don't know if you watched it, but Dan Soder was on Fly on the Wall. Fly on the Wall, and Dan Soder, he's about our age, 44, 45. And,
tremendous impressionist.
Yeah, just spectacular. But he has a deeper range. Yeah. So he can go down and get like the Rodney Dangerfield.
Right.
But he does a Dave Chappelle, and Carvey's like, that's the best impression I've heard in a long time,
dude.
And Soder kind of like shrugs it off, but then like 5 minutes later he comes back and he's like, I just want you to know, like, you, who I consider to be like one of the best impressionists ever, you telling me that my impression is so good, that's going to fuel me for like 10 years.
Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, how badass would that be to actually have a celebrity
have one of your idols
acknowledge you like that? Like,
give you the props.
Man. Wanted to touch quickly too on Wayne's World. We talked about it a little bit, but Wayne's World was Mike Myers' idea. Another one that Lorne Michaels.
See a little silhouette.
Lorne Michaels was like, meh, I don't know if that's going to work. And then even went so far as to, hey, Dana, we need a sidekick for Wayne, which he was right on that. There needs to be like something else there. And that movie went from made a budget of $20 million and went on to gross $183 million freaking dollars, which is by far the only. It's by far the most successful SNL movie and the only one to ever eclipse the 100 mil mark.
So is that? all those movies from these SNL stars, was that somehow attached to SNL? Like, was it SNL Studios that was?
Yeah.
That was.
So Lauren, I think Lauren directed this or produced it. So this is his like hang a hat on it. Like, hey, I did that. You know, made all this money. But that's why they had so many SNL movies. Listen to Molly Shannon talk about it. It's like the budget would be like 10 million, 15 million, 5 million. It may only make 40 or 50 million, but you made a profit. And that's kind of what they went off of. This one had a $20 million budget and went gangbusters. And actually, Mike Myers didn't want to do number 2. Apparently, there was beef between those two that I keep hearing about.
I've heard that, but
I don't know the substance of it. So if you do know the substance, hit us up in the comments and let us know what the beef was between Dana Carvey and Mike Myers. But apparently, like, they weren't copacetic on set on 1 or 2. So kind of weird. But man, that was a big one. I mean, Garth. With the line about, you know, climbing she makes me feel like when I climb the gym rope in class or whatever.
Makes me feel kind of funny.
Yeah, kind of funny. But Leaf, he got brought back on SNL, right? Like to do some other impressions more recently.
He did, and so like throughout Dana Carvey's career, he's been brought back for numerous impressions. Obviously, he's done. They did a commercial, I think, on Super Bowl before this with Wayne and Garth. I think not like recently. So he's done. They've done, you know, those characters he's brought back, but he brought back. He has a fresh impression, or he did not too long ago of Joe Biden, and I'll be damned if it's not dead
fucking on.
Perfect on.
Hey, come on, man.
Yeah,
dude. If you haven't seen Dana Carvey's impression of Joe Biden, it is flawless.
But if you go down this list that you have right now, where it's like Ross Perot, George Bush, Joe Biden, Bob Dylan, Johnny Carson, Carcinio, weird, wild stuff. Dennis Miller, you know, John Lennon, Paul McCartney. This one is from his stand-up, Jimmy Stewart.
So again, I was letting you read that list, and when you got to Jimmy Stewart, I was going to say stop.
Yeah,
because that shit is so good.
The Wonderful Life parody they did at the end of it, like again with our
John
girl.
Lovitz as Mr.
How great of a bad guy does John Lovitz play in this, man?
How do you stay where you are, George Bailey? You're in enough trouble already. You made one mistake, Mr. Potter. You double-crossed me and you left me alive.
John Lovitz is just always got that face, like that. He plays that bad guy.
When he flips him out of his wheelchair and starts speaking.
You, Potter. Why on a pound, you? The whole world revolves around.
No, I was.
Jana Hooks is jumping on the fake dummy body and shit,
She's
like
kicking you.
I was listening to Dana. He was talking about John Lovitz, and he's like, he's like a big spender. Like you always see him. He's always wearing like a nice leather coat. You know, he's always like got a new car since the last time you saw him. He's like, I saw him one time. He was getting out of a Rolls Royce. I was like, John, why are you behind a Rolls Royce? He's like, because I'm gonna die someday. You can't take it with you.
Yeah, dude,
and then
that's awesome.
And also, sorry guys, I love John Lovitz.
Same here.
He has like the same like opening line anytime he runs into somebody in public, and he's always like wanting to show off what he's got.
Right.
So the example that he gave was like he had this like beautiful girl like on his arm, you know. He walks up and he looks at Dana in the face. He looks back at the girl. He looks back at Dana. And he goes, "Jealous?"
Acting.
I can't imagine what it would have been like to be there with Dana Carvey and like all of these legends, man.
Dude, like Phil Hartman, like all those dudes, like, jeez, man. But that Jimmy Stewart, he did that shit in his stand-up, and I'm sure I had teachers being like, how the fuck do you know who Jimmy Stewart is? Yeah. Like when I'd be doing the
what do you mean?
Yeah, what do you mean, Mr. Potter? Yeah. I would do this Jimmy Stewart because he had this gag where it was like Jimmy Stewart and whoever else, and they're old and they're having sex and she's making this noise and he's just like, I think she's flooded. Like like it's absurd and fucking stupid, but his stand-up was so funny, and it just all his impressions, he tied the stories together well, like with the stand-up. But that Jimmy Stewart was it was over the top too. Like when you go back and watch It's a Wonderful Life, like it's definitely he found, like we talked about and Chadwick said earlier, he found that hook.
The wife had me put the tux on with the shoes and the cummerbund. I don't mind saying I look great.
He did Regis Philbin, who I'm sure the kids remember him from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
That Regis Philbin is just it's isn't Jan Hooks also in that one? Is she playing Kathy Lee? But man, his fucking that Regis when he starts screaming and getting louder was perfect. Like again, found the hook in there, found the exaggeration, and just did it to a freaking T, man.
So good, so good. And obviously Chris and I's favorite, and this is going to segue us into the next section. He did his impressions of Ted Koppel, news anchor Ted Koppel, and of course Tom Brokaw.
And this is the famous skit that you've seen. I never even knew that this originated on the Dana Carvey show.
Well, no one did. It was never
aired, right?
It was never aired,
but like
right.
The premise, this was another one that like we would take back to work and school and whatever the hell else we were doing. Gerald Ford. Even so much we did it so much that like even my wife would do, like when Gerald Ford was like, you know, they announced anything about it, my wife was like, Gerald Ford dead today. Like it's just that whole that it and hearing Smigel talk about how they came up with this premise
is my favorite part about it.
Yeah, tell the story, Leaf.
It was breaking news things about Reagan. I think he was probably on his deathbed. He wasn't doing good. He was notoriously suffered from Alzheimer's. Yeah. And so Tom Brokaw wanted to go on vacation for an extended period of time, but he also wanted to be the one to break the news story if, you know, a big story happened. So he was reading various pre-recorded scripts of how Reagan died so that he could be gone, but they would play the pre-recorded part of...
I just don't even want to believe this is true. Like, that's so fucking absurd. But back then, this is before the internet, so like it's the line in this when he's just like,
Gerald Ford is dead today and I'm gay.
And he's just like, well, wait a minute, I'm not gay. And he's just like, yeah, he's like,
what? That'd be a huge story. Ford dying and you coming out?
But I'm not gay.
Today you're not gay, you know, then one day you wake up, you like men, Gerald Ford dies, and we're screwed.
Yeah, it was, I think they said Louis C.K. punched that one up. It was like, Gerald Ford died today, eaten by wolves. He was delicious.
They all did. Like, so that was the premise of the skit was that, like, you know, Tom Brokaw, obviously played by Dana Carvey, was reading pre-recorded scripts of Gerald Ford dying, which he didn't die till many years later.
But we would do it all the time. Like it was the eaten by wolves. He was delicious. Or I love the. He's like, hey, why don't you? Because it's Robert Smigel that's talking back to him, like in the studio. That's him, you know, going back and forth. And he's like,
television director.
Can you put like senselessly in there? And he's putting senselessly in the wrong spot.
Gerald Ford shot dead today at the senseless age of 83.
that skit is so funny. But like as Chris said, this came towards the later on. Dana Carvey's run in SNL ended in 1993. He returned to obviously movies and stand-up. He starred in 2 more films. He actually turned down the role for Bad Boys because he was beginning to be overwhelmed as a new father. So that plays
crazy.
in.
Yeah.
Later on in 1994, he filmed his first HBO stand-up special, Critics' Choice.
Which is the one I was talking about. That one has the Jimmy Stewart and the...
Seen it many times, it's been a minute, but yeah, that one was an excellent stand-up.
Is that still available on HBO?
I have no idea. I'll try to find it definitely in post.
I know David Spade's Take the Hit. You can watch that on Max.
Okay. We'll have to look it up.
Which I recommend anybody.
Yeah, dude. David Spade, great too. But so this led over to... The network is like... Dana Carvey, you know, I think
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, like, so he's like leaving SNL. He gets like a full fucking like he was on the cover of Rolling Stone when he left SNL. And everybody's just like, holy shit. Like, so this is a big fucking deal. Like that he's leaving. I think Bill Hader famously said, I got a blip on the back of a magazine like this big, and you know, Dana Carvey's on the cover of fucking Rolling Stone. Like that's how big of a star Dana Carvey was. But so networks are throwing fucking money at him. And they're like, we want because this is something that I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me with. I don't know how. I assume because he was able to do this and bring the characters with him. Do you own those characters that you create on SNL, or does SNL own those characters?
So I do. I know that when you audition at SNL, you have to sign a waiver. So any character that you bring in there,
that's theirs if they want it. Right.
Yeah, Dan Soder talked about that because he went in with a character when he auditioned, and he didn't get it. He lost out to Pete Davidson, and he said, "And I'll be damned, the very next week, my skit was on SNL."
Yep, 100%. And that does, I mean, that's comedy in general. A lot of fucking snakes out there. They're like, oh, that's a good idea. Sweet, we'll take it. You signed the NDA. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Just because it's fucking legal doesn't mean it's right, guys. So
right.
But I mean, so I don't. He was able to bring the church lady to his show.
He was able, to do some of the.
But
some
like
of the
I always wondered, like, what is the? I guess if you bring in its new material, then you're okay. If you were to do the same, because I guess you can't really copyright a parody. You can't copyright him doing Bill Clinton or George Bush or whatever, right? Because like you can't copyright that person. Anyway, that's a deep dive probably for another time. But this is what's interesting to me and the serious what could have been for this. He's got a bidding war out. You know, all the major networks are like, we want the Dana Carvey show because they're going to get Church Lady and everything else. They think that that's what it's going to be.
They think.
And it comes down to ABC and fucking HBO. And he could have gone with HBO. And if he goes with HBO, how many seasons does this fucking thing go, man?
The timeline's completely different if he goes with HBO. And who knows? It still may have been canceled. We don't have any clue. However,
could have been more edgy. It couldn't have gone any worse at ABC, right? So he gets signed he gets to deal with ABC. I'm sure it's big fucking money. Smigel comes with him, and then we start to talk about the holy shit of holy shit casting here, right? Of people that you would just never fucking know.
So do you guys remember the Dana Carvey show?
Hell no. Like, I remember being excited about it, and I felt like I blinked and it was gone. Like, I don't even know if I ever watched any of it.
I remember being excited about it, and I remember watching. I know I watched 1 or 2 episodes of it, but I don't remember any of the skits. Like, I watched this documentary just like you guys, and I was fucking doubled over laughing.
Dude, again, too funny to fail. It's on Hulu. If you haven't seen it, I beg of you, go watch this.
Please.
It's fucking gold.
You'll love it.
But so
do the cast list. It's crazy. Louis C.K., Robert Smigel, Stephen Colbert, and Steve Carell.
Right. Yeah. Just out of the gate. Out of the gate.
So Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert were at Second City together, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it was Steve Carell said that his agent told him basically, look, you've got about another year, and then you just need to
dude, this was it for Steve Carell. Like,
hang it up.
We would not get fucking Michael Scott. We're not going to get 40-year-old virgin. We're not going to get, like, any of this shit if this doesn't work out and he doesn't get this gig. And him and Stephen Colbert, who I think Stephen Colbert was his understudy for some of the stuff at Second City, right? So they both get the gig. Steve Carell actually got to call Stephen Colbert to give him the good news, which is kind of cool. But
how do you not fuck with him, by the way?
I know. Steve Carell just kind of seems like a good guy. Like, he just seems like a nice dude. But they bring all this shit with them, like all these, because Second City, Second City and the Groundlings are like famously what kind of populated SNL, because it's people that just write skits and shit all the time, and they can hone what works and what doesn't in front of a live audience. But they come over here, and then you start looking at this cast again, like Louis C.K.
I kind of want to do it.
It'd be fun. Robert Smigel, like we said, Stephen Colbert, Steve Carell. You start looking at some of these other writers and stuff too.
Yep.
Jan from fucking, if anybody's watched Parks and Rec, the dude that you just got jammed, like curly-headed dude, he's a writer on this. The dude that voiced like the voiceover for the ambiguously gay duo, which originated on this, who also played the dude from The Ringer that me and Leaf know.
Or possibly tucked in.
Yeah, what's that guy's name again?
I can't fucking remember.
I don't have the list, dude. Let's see. I think it was Charlie. No. Bob Odenkirk, by the way, he also came.
Oh yeah, Odenkirk came in, right?
Odenkirk came. Yeah, there's dude.
So like
we're getting a sequel to Nobody, by the way.
Sweet. So Bob Odenkirk comes in. On top of, again, Smigel and all these, like, this is like the cream of the crop from SNL that left with him to do the show, and right in the middle of this, fucking Disney buys ABC.
Yeah.
And good fucking night. Anything fun. So it's, because, I mean, like, look, Disney has got the family entertainment shit down. Family entertainment, this was not. And so I even when he's doing his promotional tours.
What, this was good family entertainment, even with their opening skit?
Their opening skit, which, okay, do you guys think it would have gone different? Like, when they do you think it goes different if they don't start off with the Bill Clinton? I'm going to be honest. That skit is made funnier knowing the reaction that it got than I think if I had watched it cold. Like, it's not really, it's absurd for the sake of being absurd.
Yeah,
and it may have been a topical joke, too.
That's not my particular brand of comedy.
Right.
Like,
yep.
I mean, so basically what it was, Dana Carvey is Bill Clinton, and he's talking about like nurturing the nation,
right?
And so
he lost Hillary out of the Oval, like in a room or some shit.
Now that part was funny.
Yeah.
Oh, look, it's the first bitch.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no, he's talking about he's been taking like estrogen, whatever. So he's grown like a set of like 8 nipples,
like a dog, you know, and he's going to feed the nation. So he's feeding a fake baby at first, breastfeeding, and then they start Smigel's just bringing dog after dog on screen, like for him to
every time he brings another dog with a serious face, I laugh that much harder.
And they said that it really was like squirting milk out.
Yeah, you can see it.
Because why are you going to do it and not have real milk?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think there was somebody down there like doing this, like squirting the milk out.
If you watch if I watched it like 3 times because I was laughing so hard. If you watch, one of the things breaks, it's just leaking out of the bodysuit, like out of the bottom.
Out of the gate,
and I'm like, I'm dying, I'm losing it, but at the same time, it's just like trying to play this podcast like after, I don't know, like the Teletubbies or some children's program. Like, you got to remember, this show aired after Home Improvement.
When Home Improvement was the king. Like, every week we were tuning into Toolman Taylor.
The audience wasn't there for it.
It was a family audience. This is the TGI Friday fucking audience. This is like Family Matters and, you know, Full House. And
it was, if I remember correctly, it was on a Tuesday night, I think is when Home Improvement came on, and it was it a 9 o'clock?
Yeah, because they were 9:30.
It was late. It was
they were 9:30, but 9 o'clock was prime time. Like Home Improvement was the highest rated show for fucking at least a year, maybe a couple years. It was hot shit, and they were gonna get that as a lead-in, meaning this audience is gonna watch. But again, these fucking dudes that make millions and millions of dollars a year, how do you not know what fucking demographics you're dealing with?
Yeah. It just occurred to me, I feel like maybe Home Improvement might have been a take on the Andy Griffith Show, because the way Andy Griffith and Tim Taylor, they would always like kind of learn a lesson.
Yeah.
In the episode, like especially like Andy Griffith, there was the whole like women's rights, you know.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, there would be something like, you know, a woman can't do this, and then he would learn that she could. And Tim was the same thing. He would like something always occur to him.
Yeah. But it's sitcom 101, right? They famously said in the sitcom, you have a problem, then you solve the problem, and then you learn a lesson, and that's like sitcom 101. But like, you couldn't have fucking Home Improvement lead into SNL. Like, that's not going to work.
You couldn't. And I just looked it up. So in the 1996-1997 season of Home Improvement aired on Tuesdays at 9 p.m.
Nice.
So when the show ended, the Dana Carvey show would play.
Would start with Bill Clinton's nipples exposed.
Why in the fuck? Honestly, why do I know that? Why did I remember that Home Improvement came on Tuesdays?
You were Tuesdays at
because
9
it was must see TV, baby.
I guess,
dude. We had to watch it. We had to see what what Tim Taylor was up to at the time.
We did, and we got it. We got to talk about the crossover from the Home Improvement, the commercial they show on the documentary.
Oh my god!
Because this encapsulates what was wrong with the Dana Carvey show.
ABC Tuesday, a parent's worst fear, losing a child.
I don't want to die, Dad.
You never know whose family it will happen to. An episode so powerful, it hits home.
We'll beat this thing, no matter what it is, you know? I'm not letting anything happen to you.
A special Home Improvement followed by the Diet Mug Root Beer Dana Carvey Show.
Well, yeah, which we forgot to mention that for sponsorship, Dana Carvey went out much like the NCAA football bowl games,
right?
We're getting sponsors, so like they changed it to what was it, like the Tostitos,
Right, and they did
bowl.
this with like variety shows a long time ago. Like old timey TV, you know, would be sponsored by
brought to you by
whatever on the
Soul
talk shows.
Glow,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, but
that was the funny part because I believe the executives were quoted as saying they wanted something like the Carol Burnett show.
Right, and it's like,
right?
Did you not watch anything he did on SNL?
They did not. They didn't see Massive Head Wound Harry. They didn't see.
They weren't up. They weren't up late enough.
What was the name?
No.
Ching Chang?
Yeah. They were not able to see great characters such as that.
While the effeminate homosexual and Ching Chang, the Chinese chicken shop owner.
Again, they talk about this being a failure, but again, I say, how do you not know what you're getting? And then, like, it was so bad too that with the Bill Clinton thing, that Taco Bell, they got Taco Bell as a sponsor. Look, you got Taco Bell, which is excellent.
Look, they won the franchise wars.
They won the franchise wars in Demolition Man 3 years earlier. So
yeah,
fantastic.
Now all restaurants are.
They
Taco
were
Bell.
trying to get ahead of the curve on that. But I mean, let's be honest. Taco Bell is Taco Bell. We all like it, and we love that it comes with free diarrhea.
It also cracked me up that Smog was like, their food's just shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I've never had it.
Yeah, I've never had it. Is it good?
Is it good? And he's like, I shouldn't say that, should I? No, it's shit. Yeah. but
it's like that's his cross to bear. Like,
so the first episode, Taco Bell's like, fuck it, we're out. Like, and they show like the ratings, and it's like this fucking nosedive, like the minute by minutes after, because you have this massive lead-in audience of families, and then you have Bill Clinton breastfeeding dogs and a baby, like, and I think one cat. That was in there.
I think so. They were bringing random animals. So to answer your question, in my opinion, would the show have succeeded? I don't know. Would it have lasted longer with the episodes? I think yes. I think
because they only got 7, right? It was only 7 episodes.
Yeah, there were 8. Yeah, there were 8, and they only aired
they
7.
canned it before the 8th episode, which is fucking insane.
Yeah.
So,
it's nuts.
So one of the other things that came out of this too, which they resurrected, was the ambiguously gay duo, which is just the
which I had no idea.
I didn't either.
Steve Carell did the voice.
Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert.
Colbert.
Yeah, they did the voices for
actors.
Can't keep this up, lifetime companion. Let's go for the break.
Work it, Ace!
It is insane to me.
And I always knew they did it, but I didn't know that it came from the Dana Carvey show.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
It was
that
just
at all.
so wild to me. To hear that.
I thought that originated on SNL.
But so like, man, they had Ace and Gary that they ended up bringing over to SNL, and like we talked about the Gerald Ford skit whenever Dana came back to host. Smigel was back at SNL, and they brought that one back because, and Smigel said it's like the biggest laugh, like one of the biggest laughs he's ever heard. Like, just that skit's just so fucking good. But
remember they were talking about their dick mobile or whatever, and the producer's like, "Well, how much is it going to look like a dick?"
No, he said that you can't have flesh colored, and they're like, "It's not flesh colored, it's peach."
It's peach.
That's how they got around it.
They changed it because the original drawing had flesh color on it, and they were like, "Well, you can't do flesh color."
They just changed it to say peach.
So hold on, was this before or after Demolition Man?
This is after Demolition Man's '93.
Okay.
So
they may have copied that doctor's means of conveyance.
Yeah, his means of conveyance was this, man. I really would like to do a fucking deep dive on the Dana Carvey show if we can find it in its entirety. I think pulling out some gems that may not be on this documentary and show them to other people may be worth it.
Well, I'm going to tell you my favorite skit that I saw from that documentary was it originated from the idea where Stephen Colbert would go out and get drunk, and he was a waiter, so he would be hungover and trying to like read the specials to people, and he was getting nauseous while he was reading just because he was so hungover.
Right.
But they turned that into waiters who were nauseated by food.
We have a milk-fed veal with a mint jelly.
So it's Colbert and Steve Carell. And what was genius about this was that Steve Carell would write the menu list.
Dude.
And Colbert would read it for the first time as they were filming.
It's so good.
So you can throw it in here, but
yeah, I'll put
like as he's trying to read through this list, and he's just getting more and more sick. And Steve Carell's like standing behind him. I don't know if he's supposed to be in training or whatever.
Yeah, and then he has to step in.
For our final specialist,
chicken.
Like he like doubles over. But that's what's crazy about Dana Carvey with this, right? We don't get Steve Carell. We don't get Stephen Colbert without this fucking show. Like
the
fucking Louis C.K.
Dude, dude. Like the comedy of comedies.
What I didn't know was the first time I saw Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert was on The Daily Show. I thought that's where they came from.
Same here.
I thought that's where they came from.
I didn't even know they did that show together.
Yeah. Oh, I
knew Colbert. I didn't know Steve Carell was on it.
Yes.
Some of the skits that they did on the Daily Show were
so funny.
Freaking funny, guys, and that's where I thought that they came from. I thought that was their first gig. I had no idea that their careers were literally solely responsible because of the Dana Carvey show. That one skit, Shabbat, that you like, they credit both of them. Credit their careers.
They
of
said
that,
the Daily
that
Show.
waiter
The
skit.
Daily Show. They were like, he's like, we were on the Dana Carvey show. Stephen Colbert's talking to him, and he tells him the skits. Because by the way, they had one skit that was the fucking Eastern Maine skinheads or whatever. That like that one was just fucking ridiculous and obscure. But like, but he's naming this stuff off, and then he goes,
"Nice day."
Yeah. But he said he's naming the skits off that he did, and then he goes, the waiters who nauseated food, they're like, "Oh my God, that was you. Yeah, you're hired." Like that was how he got the Daily Show.
They got hired off of that.
And he said, "Hey, you need to hire Steve Carell." Like he was the other guy on that, and they're like, "Call him." Like that's how he got. Like that's instantly because of Dana Carvey in this show that the comedy kept giving to us going forward, man.
The other good one I thought was the Bad Pranksters.
Dude, yeah, with him, with Dana Carvey and Steve Carell. Like that one's pretty funny.
And it basically it was like they would go somewhere like a drive-thru or whatever, and they would make their order and then pay. And
they were bad at pranking. Like
while they were waiting to bring the food back, they would like
drive off and laugh their ass off or whatever.
Drive off after they already paid.
And they had one with like the lottery, I think, where they had the winning lottery ticket and like the same shit. Like it.
But
was
you know what? I think I could have made that skit a little bit better though, because you see them in the car and you see that they start to realize what they've just done. Like they're not getting the millions of dollars or whatever. And then it shows like an establishing shot basically of the car like going down the road, and I'm like, you should have just drove it straight to a tree.
I was waiting. When I was watching that, I was like, they're gonna drive off the road, right?
Yeah, I thought the car was gonna explode.
That's what. Anything like that. Like that's what I get, man. So, man. So he did have some, like we said, he had some other movies and stuff after this. Again, he's luckily for us, he's been putting out solid content for probably over a year now with Fly on the Wall with David Spade. Listen to their podcast. They got shorts everywhere on social media. Sponsor our podcast, please. Would love to have either one of those dudes on our show so we could just kiss their ass for 6 hours straight. But I hope that this was kind of a off the cuff idea we had when we did our little writers retreat, and we were like, man, why don't we do a tribute to somebody that's like around to see it?
Yeah, why don't we give their flowers to somebody that deserves it? And Dana Carvey is, especially for us, has got to be one of the top ones because of all that he's contributed, not only just to comedy, but like his just myriad of characters and influential like stand-ups and everything that he's done like to move comedy forward as a genre. And like can you not still watch the Dana Carvey show? Is it on Hulu?
I don't know. I'm gonna try to find it, but I'll tell you this: as far as he goes, he's one of the best impressionists ever, but he's also one of the best character actors ever, and a great stand-up comedian. On top of that, like he checks so many freaking boxes,
and
man.
those are rare. Those are extremely rare to
for
see.
sure, man. Now we're gonna start ending these episodes. This one's hard. This one's gonna be hard for all of us. We start ending these episodes being like, what quote are you gonna walk away from this episode with now? And I guess for me is that what's going on? Is that what we're doing? Is what I'm gonna be using for the next 6 weeks.
Can I finish?
Can I finish? That's mine.
Yeah.
Can I finish? Can I finish?
Can
I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish?
Leaf, you gonna walk away with one? What do you got, man? Is that what you're gonna do? You're just gonna sit there and think?
I still want to go back to the back of the day when we used to use the McLaughlin group to yell at people and tell them they were wrong.
Wrong.
Yeah. Like I still want to throw that at people randomly when they're like, "Why are you yelling? Why are you telling them I'm wrong?" I'm like, "It's from Dana Carvey,
You're like
right
decades
ago."
Right?
Yeah.
Wrong. So anyway, like we said, go watch the best of Dana Carvey, SNL. It's on Peacock. Go watch Too Funny to Fail. Fingers crossed we will do a deep dive on the Dana Carvey show. It would be awesome to do that with Dana Carvey. I want to go dig up all these gems that we didn't even know exist. So
give us 10 minutes, dude. You know what we can do with 10 minutes? Our wives know.
No, they're like that. We could do that
They
5
don't
times.
know.
Yeah.
She don't know.
and with that, guys, we'll take it over to our Norm Macdonald clip of the week.
Our top story tonight, this week in the O.J. Simpson trial. After grisly photos of the murdered Nicole Brown Simpson were shown in court, O.J. turned his head away and wept. It was at that moment that he realized he would never be able to kill her again.